Build unshakable confidence. A speech in the style of Marcus Aurelius. What is it that shakes a man's confidence? It is the words of another. Is it the changing of fortune? Is it the fear of failure or the judgment of the crowd? Consider this: if confidence rests on the shifting sands of praise, wealth, or reputation, then it is no confidence at all, only the illusion of it. True confidence is like a great fortress built not on the noise of the world but on the foundation of reason. It does not waver when storms come, nor does it crumble when struck by misfortune. And who is the builder of such a fortress? You. If a man depends on the approval of others, he is a slave. If he fears loss, he has already lost. But if he turns inward, if he examines his thoughts and actions with honesty, if he lives in accordance with virtue, then what can shake him? No insult can wound him, for he knows that another's opinion is no more than breath in the wind. No failure can break him, for he understands that fortune is beyond his control, but effort is his own. Ask yourself, do I govern myself as a ruler governs a city? Do I allow fear to rule me? Do I permit anger or doubt to whisper lies into my ear? If so, I have surrendered my sovereignty. But if I wake each day determined to master my own mind, then I am free. The archer does not control the wind, nor the flight of his arrow once released. He controls only his aim. And so, let your confidence rest not in outcomes, but in action. Not in praise, but in character. Not in fortune, but in the discipline of your own soul. Stand firm. Look within. Build what cannot be shaken. If confidence is to be unshakable, it must rest upon a foundation that does not crumble beneath the weight of opinion, misfortune, or the fleeting nature of external praise. A man who seeks confidence in the approval of others builds his house upon the sand, and when the storm comes, it falls. But a man who roots his confidence in reason builds upon stone, unmoved by the winds of fate. Consider how often men waver, their spirits rising with applause and falling with criticism. They walk as beggars, extending their hands for reassurance, believing they will be whole only if others affirm them. But what is the opinion of another? Mere sound, fleeting as smoke, subject to the passions and ignorance of the speaker. To place one's confidence in the shifting judgments of men is to surrender control over the self, making one's peace a hostage to forces beyond command. The wise man does not seek confidence from without but cultivates it within. He examines his actions through the lens of reason, asking only, have I acted rightly? Have I done what is within my power? Have I upheld my principles? If the answer is yes, then no insult can wound him, no failure can weaken him, no loss can unmake him. He is not made greater by praise nor diminished by blame, for his confidence does not rise and fall with the tide of others' opinions. External validation is a poor master, for it is fickle and blind. A man who chases it will find himself running endlessly, never arriving, for the standards of the world are ever changing. What is praised today is condemned tomorrow. What is celebrated in one place is mocked in another. Should a man tie his sense of worth to such an unsteady measure, he will forever be at the mercy of forces he cannot control. But reason is steady, unwavering. It does not flatter, nor does it deceive. It asks only that a man govern himself with discipline and wisdom. The archer does not control the wind, nor does he control the movement of his target, but he controls his aim. So too must a man direct his confidence toward what is within his power, his choices, his actions, his principles. If he does this, what need has he for the applause of the crowd? He who builds confidence upon reason stands firm when others tremble. He does not waver when ignored, nor does he boast when praised, for he understands that his worth is not measured by the fleeting opinions of men but by the steadfast pursuit of what is right. Let others seek comfort in approval and fear the silence of indifference. See, he walks his path, unshaken. A man who builds his confidence on the approval of others is not free. He may appear strong when praised, but in truth, he is bound by invisible chains, a servant to the whims of those around him. If he is lifted by applause, he is also crushed by criticism. If his worth is determined by the voices of others, then he has surrendered his own judgment, placing his peace in the hands of those who may withdraw it at any moment. What kind of power is this? To be confident only when others allow it. It is no power at all, but a form of slavery. The man who depends on approval is not his own master. He watches the faces of others to know how he should feel about himself. He speaks not with honesty, but with the desire to please. He acts not according to wisdom, but in fear of rejection. His confidence is not confidence at all, but a fragile illusion, easily shattered by a word, a look, or a moment of silence. Such a man is not steady, for he shifts with the expectations of those around him. He seeks to be liked, to be admired, to be seen as worthy, but in doing so, he loses himself. He bends to the will of the crowd, molding himself into whatever shape they demand. But no man can please all, and in trying to do so, he pleases none, not even himself. The more he chases approval, the further he strays from the path of true confidence. The man who is truly confident does not wait for others to grant him permission to feel strong. He does not ask the world if he is enough, for he has already answered that question for himself. He looks inward and seeks only to act in accordance with reason and virtue. He does not need to be praised for his deeds, for he knows that doing right is its own reward. He does not fear rejection, for he understands that the opinions of others are beyond his control and therefore not his concern. The moment a man realizes that he needs no validation to be at peace, he becomes free. He speaks with honesty, not calculation. He acts with conviction, not hesitation. He no longer watches the faces of others to know his worth, for he has placed it where it cannot be taken within himself. He does not seek approval, nor does he fear disapproval, for both are empty, both are fleeting, and neither define him. Let others chase the applause of the world. Let them tremble at the thought of being disliked. The man who builds his confidence on reason alone stands unmoved, bound to no one, a master of himself. Failure is only ruinous to the man who believes success is owed to him. He who labors with the expectation of reward, who measures his worth by the outcome of his efforts, will find himself broken when the world does not grant him what he desires. But the man who understands that effort is his alone, while results belong to fortune, cannot be shaken. He does not toil for guarantees, nor does he despair when his work does not bear fruit, for he knows that true confidence comes not from what is achieved, but from the will to act, to persist, and to endure. Consider the archer. He may train his hands, perfect his aim, and release the arrow with skill, but once it has left his grasp, the outcome is no longer his. The wind may rise, the target may shift, unforeseen obstacles may interfere. If he bases his confidence on whether the arrow strikes true, he will be at the mercy of things beyond his control. But if he builds his confidence on his effort, on the discipline of practice, the precision of his aim, the steadiness of his hand, then he remains unshaken, whether he hits or misses. Failure only has power over the man who believes it defines him. If he falls and curses his fate, if he abandons his path because success did not come easily, he reveals that he was never confident at all, only hopeful, only dependent on a favorable result. But the man who understands that failure is nothing more than an outcome, no different than any other, treats it as a teacher, not a tyrant. He looks upon it with clear eyes, sees what must be adjusted, and moves forward without hesitation. He is not broken, for he was never relying on success to sustain him, only on his own resolve. Men who seek to avoid failure at all costs remain stagnant. They do not attempt, for fear of defeat. They do not strive, for fear of falling short, but in doing so, they guarantee failure of a different kind, the failure of never having tried. The man who builds unshakable confidence does not concern himself with whether he will succeed or fail. He concerns himself only with whether he will act. He commits himself to effort, knowing that effort is his domain, while fortune belongs to no man. If he succeeds, he does not grow arrogant, for he knows that the winds of fortune may change at any moment. If he fails, he does not sink into despair, for he understands that failure is only a lesson, not a sentence. His confidence does not rise with victory nor crumble with defeat, for it was never built on either. It was built on the unbreakable foundation of his own will. The mind is a powerful force, shaping a man's perception of the world and of himself. If left undisciplined, it becomes a tyrant, ruling through fear, doubt, and hesitation. But if mastered, it becomes a servant, strengthening resolve and sharpening judgment. A man who does not govern his thoughts will find that they govern him, leading him where he does not wish to go, turning his own mind into an enemy rather than an ally. Confidence cannot be built upon such unstable ground. It must be rooted in clarity, in discipline, in the understanding that thoughts are to be directed, not obeyed without question. Consider the man who allows fear to take root in his mind. He imagines failure before he has even begun. He sees obstacles where there are none. He interprets silence as rejection, difficulty as impossibility, and challenge as proof of his own inadequacy. Such a man is not free. He is led by his own unexamined thoughts, dragged in whatever direction his fears and insecurities dictate. He believes his feelings to be truth, his emotions to be commands, and in doing so, he surrenders control over himself. But the man who seeks mastery over his mind does not accept every thought as reality. He questions, he examines, he asks, is this thought useful? Does it serve me, or does it weaken me? Does it lead me toward strength or toward self-doubt? He does not allow himself to be swept away by passing emotions, for he knows that emotions are mere visitors, not rulers. He trains his mind as a warrior trains his body through discipline, through patience, through repeated effort until he is no longer at the mercy of irrational fears or fleeting doubts. A thought may arise unbidden, but what follows is within a man's control. He may feel hesitation, but he does not have to submit to it. He may hear the voice of self-doubt, but he does not have to listen. He may be tempted to compare himself to others, but he does not have to follow that path. The undisciplined man believes he has no choice in these matters, so he follows every impulse, believes every negative whisper, and calls it truth. But the man who has gained mastery knows that thoughts are like the wind, constantly shifting, unpredictable, often unreliable. He observes them, but he is not controlled by them. Confidence does not come from the absence of doubt but from the refusal to be ruled by it. The strong man does not wait for perfect certainty before he acts. He understands that the mind will always present excuses, warnings, and fears, but he chooses which thoughts to entertain and which to dismiss. He remains the master, the judge, the ruler of his inner world. He does not build his confidence upon the changing tides of emotion, but upon the steady ground of reason and will. In doing so, he ensures that his confidence is not shaken by the storms of the mind, for he is the one holding the reins. A man weak in confidence is often a man distracted by things beyond his control. He concerns himself with the opinions of others, the twists of fate, the unpredictable nature of success and failure. He wishes to guarantee outcomes, to force the world to bend to his desires, and when it does not, he is shaken. His spirit rises and falls with events outside his command, making his confidence as unsteady as the sea in a storm. But the man who builds unshakable confidence understands that his power lies not in outcomes, but in his own actions. He does not waste his energy on what is not his to decide. He focuses only on what is within his grasp. His effort, his discipline, his choices. The archer controls his aim, but not the movement of his target. The farmer tills the soil, but he does not command the rain. The sailor steers the ship, but he does not summon or quiet the wind. Each must accept the limits of his control, focusing not on what may come, but on what he must do. The man who obsesses over results lives in constant frustration, for he ties his peace to forces that do not answer to him. But the man who fixes his mind on his own actions, trusting that he has done what is necessary, walks with confidence, no matter the outcome. It is foolish to believe that control over results is the key to certainty. Success often depends on chance, on timing, on the choices of others. A man may prepare for battle with wisdom and strength, yet still be defeated. A merchant may act with prudence, yet suffer loss from forces unforeseen. If his confidence is built upon victory alone, then he is fragile. But if he measures himself by his efforts, by his adherence to principle, by his unwavering discipline, then he is never truly defeated. The outcome may not favor him, but his confidence remains, untouched and unshaken. Many men hesitate to act because they fear an uncertain result. They wish to know beforehand that they will succeed before they begin. But such a wish is impossible. and to wait for certainty is to wait forever. The only certainty a man can have is in himself and his willingness to act despite uncertainty, to move forward despite doubt, to put forth effort despite not knowing how fortune will respond. This is the foundation of unshakable confidence, to understand that success is not always given, but effort is always within reach. The man who focuses on his actions rather than his outcomes is free. He does not burden himself with unnecessary worry, nor does he tie his worth to things he cannot control. He labors with diligence, knowing that he has done all that is in his power, and leaves the rest to fate. In this, he finds confidence not in the world's response, but in his own steadfast will. A man who builds his confidence on wealth, reputation, or strength stands on unsteady ground. Fortune changes, and what is given today may be taken tomorrow. The favor of others is fickle, their opinions shifting with the winds of their own interests. Strength fades, the body weakens, and all external advantages eventually fall away. If a man has built his confidence upon such things, he will find himself lost when they are gone. But the man who stands firm in virtue cannot be shaken, for his foundation is not of this world, but of his own making. Virtue is the only possession that cannot be stolen, for it rests within the soul. A man may lose his wealth, but not his integrity. He may be slandered, but not deprived of his honesty. He may suffer misfortune, but if he holds to wisdom, he has lost nothing of true value. His confidence does not rise and fall with circumstances, for it is rooted in what does not change, the knowledge that he has acted rightly, that he has remained true to his principles, that he has not been moved by fear, greed, or the desire to please others. Consider the man who seeks confidence through power. He believes that by commanding others, by shaping the world to his will, he will find security. But power is never absolute, and the moment it is challenged, he trembles. He fears losing what he has, for his confidence depends upon it. But the man who builds his confidence on virtue has nothing to fear, for virtue is not granted by the world and cannot be taken by it. He does not seek to dominate, only to be just. He does not seek control over others, only over himself. And because he needs nothing outside himself to feel secure, he is beyond the reach of those who would shake him. The man ruled by desires is a slave to them. If he seeks pleasure, he is restless when he does not have it. If he seeks approval, he is uneasy when it is withdrawn. But the man who lives by virtue is content in all things. He does not chase what is fleeting. He does not mourn what is beyond his reach. He knows that confidence comes not from possessing much, but from needing little. If he has wisdom, courage, justice, and discipline, then he is rich beyond measure, for these things endure when all else fades. A man may be tested by hardship, but if he stands firm in virtue, he is never truly defeated. He may lose position, wealth, or even his life, but if he has remained true to what is right, he has lost nothing that matters. No insult can wound him, no failure can break him, no loss can diminish him. He does not depend on the world to give him confidence, for he has found it within himself, where it cannot be touched.